I also want to thank the committee, the clerks and the opening contribution from the convener in his usual passionate style. When the Economy Secretary announced to the Parliament that he was issuing a ministerial direction ordering Ferguson's to complete the 2 ferries, overriding the value for money test, he just couldn't resist. He sought to make a virtue of that decision. In the wake of a humiliating admission that it would be cheaper to scrap the second boat and start again elsewhere, he thought it was time, just let me conclude the remarks, he thought it was time to claim credit for the decision, making a virtue while taxpayers picked up the tab, the shipyard workers were humiliated and the islanders were on the march. The truth is, he had no choice. To choose any other option would lead to further delays and would finish the yard for good. But just because he had no choice does not mean it was a good decision. There is little in this sorry saga that has been a good decision. And I'll take an intervention now.
Cabinet Secretary.
I thank Willie Rennie for giving way, and I'm glad that he provided the additional context around the decision that I took, because it was a narrow value for money assessment that I proceeded with written authority over. That did not take account of the impact of the community, nor of the yard, nor of the island communities, should there be further delay. So does he accept that with the context of that wider consideration, of course this was the right decision to take?
Willie Rennie.
But who created that context? It was this government. It was this government that made a series of terrible decisions over many years, many of which Richard Leonard outlined in his opening remarks. It's been an expensive episode. The mistakes have been so costly that if we had awarded the contracts elsewhere back at the start and sent every Ferguson worker home with £300,000 in their back pocket, we'd still have change left over. £250,000 for every worker to sit at home, and we'd still have 2 ferries. In fact, we'd now have 2 ferries sailing to the Isles, serving the islanders and also the communities that we seek to represent. And the Minister thought it was wise to take credit. He had hardly flinched when he opened the taxpayer's chequebook to sign a blank cheque, spending taxes that have been raised by nurses who battle through the pandemic, by teachers working long hours to keep up with the demands of the job, by workers in a fish factory on a 12-hour shift, juggling 3 jobs just to make ends meet. Perhaps the Minister should think of those people the next time he seeks to blithely spend millions of their money. The ownership of this fiasco is not in doubt. Remember, it was the SNP that brought in their favourite businessman to run the yard when he'd never built a ship in his life before. Remember, it was the SNP who awarded the contract to the yard. It was the SNP who interfered in the procurement process, who interfered for party advantage, who interfered with the builder's guarantee. And remember, it was the SNP who took over the yard when it collapsed. Yet the Minister thought he should take credit for saving the yard when it was his government that put it in decision that was potentially under threat. We thought we'd seen the worst, but the fury in the faces of the islanders from South Uist tells you just how angry they are. Lines of cars parked up for as far as you could see at Loch Boisdale. 600 people rubbed shoulders to make their views known. That is about a third of the population of South Uist and Eriskay. You'd need 500,000 Glaswegians in George Square to match that strength of feeling. They are angry about the lost bookings. Businesses are under threat. Income has been lost. Missed hospital appointments. Weddings postponed. Empty shelves in the shops. And what's worse is this government isn't even providing a penny of compensation. Ministers are content to issue a ministerial direction to spend millions more at Ferguson's, but not a penny for the shopkeepers of South Uist. They are happy to shell out £1 million a month for the MV Alfred, but not a penny for the B&Bs on Eriskay. They sit idle while Ferguson's pay millions in bonuses to the bosses, but not a penny for the islanders. Apparently, the money would be better spent by CalMac. CalMac, Apparently, it's for the greater good. Haven't we come to a pretty pass that those who have suffered the most at the hands of this incompetent government are lectured by ministers of this government about the sacrifices that they need to take for the greater good? For goodness sake, stop the faffing, give the islanders the compensation, end the insulting boasting about the virtue of this government's decisions. Do the right thing.